You're live, Amanda. Go ahead.
Hello. I hope everybody's enjoying the summit so far and getting lots of great ideas. I'm actually checking in from my car because I'm on a road trip today and I got up extra early and I drove all the way to the hotel, and then the front desk they're not there even though I told them I might be there, and they gave me the door code and everything. But so I'm here in my car, and um I was going to change my shirt, but I did. I pulled out the card. This is one of the cards, and I hope you guys enjoyed watching the video. I enjoy interactive cards, especially the lights, so I thought it would be fun to make an easy card, but one with a little bit of a wow factor. So that's what I pulled together for you.
Okay, Cheryl says, have you ever considered putting sounds into the light? Is that even possible?
Yes, actually, we've got a couple prototypes. My husband was a sound engineer for a while, and he used to build headphones and that kind of stuff. So he hates every single off-the-shelf speaker that there is. So he wants to design it from scratch, which would be fine, except if you design from scratch, then the cost is a lot higher than trying to buy off-the-shelf products and working them in. So we go back and forth about that. But at some point we will have our sound one. We're also working on a fun light. I don't know when it's coming. It's going to be a while because we can get it to work at a very expensive price. So now we're costing it down. But the idea is that it's a candle. So you press the button, the light comes on, and then it either times out after 60 seconds, or when you blow on it, it goes out. So that one's pretty fun. It works on the bench, and eventually we will get it to work at a price point that we can actually bring it to market with. So,
that sounds great for birthday cards. How fun.
Yeah, that's what I thought. And 60 seconds gives you enough time to sing happy birthday and it'll still be on. So then they could blow it out. So I thought that would be fun.
Neat. Okay, here's the next one. Is there a special on the lights during the summit?
I think so. I don't have it in front of me. I did
That's
all of this
okay.
stuff
Is it just
a long
for
time ago.
the ultimate card holder or card maker bundle people, or is it for everyone?
I think there's a discount code that we put in there.
Okay.
If not, I will post it in the comments. As soon as we're done with the live, I'll go look it up and post it in here. But I think we had it posted in there. There was, I want to say it's a 15% off discount. And then also everybody who signs up for our email list, you'll automatically get a reply that has a guide that has interactive elements that you can easily add to cards and scrapbook pages. It's got like a dozen of my favorite different kinds, not just lights, but like wobbles and pull tabs and levers and things like that. And so each one has step-by-steps or videos. So you get a lot of good information all in one spot if you like to make interactive cards and scrapbook pages.
Perfect.
And that's just, if you go to pearblossom.com and sign up for the newsletter, it'll come to you automatically.
Great, thank you. The next question is, now you probably don't because you're in your car, do you have a sample with the lights where you didn't use the vellum for them to shine through? So I guess maybe talk through when you would use vellum versus when you might just like to have the lights shining through on their own.
Sure. And I see it's Carmen. Hi, Carmen. I watch Carmen's videos. Let's see. So I don't have any samples with me, but on the website we have a ton, and on my Instagram there are a bunch of videos. I go back and forth. I use the vellum when I want to do larger areas to light up. So if I'm doing like windows behind a house or something like that, it's common for me to use vellum because the vellum diffuses the light and spreads it out across the whole area. If I want to light up gems, especially when I'm using like my easy lights or the one lights, what I'll do is I'll poke a hole and then put the light right up behind that hole, and then I'll glue a gem right on top of that. And as long as the gems don't have like that silver, solid silver paint on the back of it, the whole gem should glow, even if it's like red or pink or any color. the translucent plastic still glows. Those lights are pretty bright. So I use it in that case. And then I like to use the halo lights where I cut like a 2-inch circle and I'll tape down the halo light, and then the those lights point in toward each other. It's got 5 light bulbs and they all point in a circle toward each other. So in that case, a lot of times I'll just stamp a sentiment and then the lights point at the sentiment and make the center glow. So it's great for wreath cards or Christmas ornaments, that kind of thing. I just did a couple of videos. I don't think that one's out yet. Coming out on the 10th, there'll be a video for that one where I show that in a few different samples. But
Okay.
check out my Instagram. I show how to use them in a ton of different ways.
Great. Thank you. Do you have more narrow foam tape for non-light use?
The only foam tape I have right now is the 12 millimeters. It's about 1/2 inch wide and it's 3 millimeters thick. So it is only for the it's double thick. So for lights and for shakers and that kind of stuff. It took about 2 years to get the foam tape to the market the way I wanted it, because we went back and forth on the adhesive and the release paper, and it was also very expensive. I had to come up with like $10,000 for the first batch. So I wanted to make sure it did well before I invested another $10,000 for the thinner foam. But I do want to release the thinner foam. It'll be probably 6 months and maybe a little less. Just depends on the timing.
So here's a related question. What makes your foam tape so special?
So our foam tape is pretty cool because the adhesive it's repositionable at first. So you have about 30 minutes working time and then it'll become permanent overnight. The other thing is the release paper is really good release paper. You can tear it, like if you like to tear your foam rather than cut it, but the foam is kind of thick. I generally cut it, but if you are a tearer, it'll tear. But no matter how small you cut it, you're not going to fight with that release paper. The release paper comes off very, very easily. I mean, it's in the name. It's part of its job. That's what it should do. So I hate fighting with a release paper. So I made sure that it had just very easy to use release paper on there. And then all the other things, like it's acid free and that kind of stuff. So if you're a scrapbooker, you're keeping, long terms, you don't want your foam to yellow your paper or anything like that. So it won't. I think that's the main things.
Good. Definitely release paper. I struggle with it all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah, because
I
I
have
keep
a
my
big
nails
roll of
very
another
short.
brand.
Yeah.
I have a big roll of another brand, and it seems to tear as I'm pulling it up. Like it takes me a couple minutes to get it to loosen up, and then when I'm pulling it, like the paper itself tears and stays stuck to the foam. So I'm just, no, that's terrible.
Here's
That's
an
not its
interesting
job.
one. Here's an interesting one. How did you come up with your business name?
I used to live on Pear Blossom Drive, and if you're gonna start a business or a website and you try to find a domain name that isn't taken, good luck. So I lived on Pear Blossom Drive, and I don't know, Pear Blossom Press sounded fun and the name was available. So that's
How
where
fun
it
to
came
live
from.
on Pear Blossom Drive. What a fun address to have. We have a
We had all of
sunshine.
these ornamental pear trees. So they get those really pretty flowers. They're really gorgeous. They never fruit. They never beared fruit. But it's it's really
We have
pretty
a,
when they're
we
blooming.
have Sunshine Street near us, and I always think I would love to live on Sunshine Street. You would have to be happy if you lived on Sunshine Street.
Right. Absolutely. Now, we don't live on Pear Blossom anymore, so, but for a while it was kind of cool because everything was going to Pear Blossom Press on Pear Blossom Drive.
Okay, the
When
next one.
you've made it when it's one Pear Blossom Drive or one whatever, We're not there.
So Marie is asking, what is PVA glue?
PVA glue is I think it stands for polyvinyl adhesive. It's a liquid glue. I prefer it because it dries quickly. It's great for paper to paper. but it's not great for gems or anything that is not as porous as paper. So if I'm working with acetate or if I'm working with any of my sequins or things like that, I'll grab either the Barely Arts or the Gina K Connect because I have both of those on my desk. Those take a little bit longer to dry than PVA does, but they'll hold better for plastics. But anything paper to paper, I use my PVA. I stopped trusting the fine line or the tape runners. I had
Mm.
like Tombow tape runners and I used it for years. And I thought it was great until all my samples, when I would go teach a class, my samples started falling apart. So I've lost faith. Now I'm like, I've gone back to wet glue. I love
Right.
wet glue. My wet glue rocks.
And do
So
you find that it ever creases or wrinkles the paper?
I put it into a fine line bottle. So that makes a huge difference. If you buy a big bottle of PVA glue, it's going to have one of those big, like thick nozzle at the top, and when you cut it off to open it, it's like the like tacky glue. It's got a
Right.
big nozzle like that. So you definitely want to transfer it into something with a fine line.
Right. Okay, here's another one. What are your favorite techniques for card making? Are you a stamper? Are you a gel
Die cut.
plate? Die cut.
I love die cutting and layering, paper piecing. That kind of stuff that's my favorite. I enjoy stamping. I like to color. But if it's just going to be like, if I need a standard card, the first thing that will come to mind is something that I can layer up and then a big sentiment that's a die cut sentiment on top of it. Another one of my favorites is it's like a cheater technique, but I love it so much. If you take your stencils and use them like embossing folders with a squishy pad, you don't have to clean it up. There's no mess. And stencils are cheap. They store like so flat. You can fit like 5,000 stencils in a little, small little area. So I have a gazillion stencils. And if I
And
need a
they're
quick and
cheap.
easy background, I just I
Yeah.
I just dry emboss them with the squishy pad
Yep.
and
And
then
they're
layer some
cheap
die
too,
cuts.
right? The stencils are cheap, so
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the embossing folders are great too, and you can get more depth
Yes.
and some 3D stuff, which is cool, but stencils work great.
Okay. What are your top 3 favorite crafting tools?
The Misty. That's I don't I think that was the huge game changer for stamping for me. Um, I mean, I started stamping, well, how does Lydia put it, way back in the 1900s? Like,
Me
I think
too.
like, yeah, like many of us, I started Stampin' Up way back, and or even before that with, was it Creative Memories, where you took a piece of pattern paper and you cut the corners and you put it on opposite sides and then you put some pictures and some Mrs. Grossman stickers on there. um, but we'd stamp with the rubber stamps, and if you messed it up, well, you start over, or try to figure out how to make it work, because you certainly couldn't stamp a wooden block stamp twice. Even with those positioners, that little L shape and the acetate, I kind of could get them work or
I
get it to
still
work,
have one.
but not really. So the Misty, and then doing away with the wooden blocks, that was awesome. I think those are game changers. Um, what else do I always use? Tweezers and a pokey tool. Those are always on my desk. Scissors. Um, but and then like, I love that the dies have become wafer thin. Remember the
Mm.
old really thick?
Yes. Yep.
I mean, steel rule dies are kind of cool too because you can cut a lot of other things, but they're like the wood blocks. They're really
Yeah.
thick.
Well, and you ended up paying for all that
Mhm.
stuff, right? Rather
Right.
than just the stamp or just the die.
Right. Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
yeah, but
One stamp set with the die set can fit like, so I remember the Stampin' Up ones, they came in those clear plastic cases, which, by the way, if you still have those will store your little ink cubes very nicely, so you can take them to travel. But I can fit like 5 or 6 stamp sets with their dies in the same amount of room as one
right,
old wooden block set. So,
right. That's a
and I
big
get
game
better
changer.
results. because of my Misty.
Okay, here's one. How did you get hooked on making cards?
I've actually been a card maker since I was a kid. When I was a little girl, somebody taught me how to draw Snoopy, and I thought I was actually really good at it. I thought it looked just like Snoopy, and just a couple years ago my dad pulled out some old stuff, and it turns out I cannot draw Snoopy, but I thought I could. And so I drew Snoopy on like everything, construction paper, notebook paper, folded it in half, and then I would, make my own cards for everybody in the family. And on the back I would write Hall Mandy 25 cents or Amanda greetings, and I would draw the rose.
That's so cute.
Sometimes it had both. And so that, like, I don't know, 5, 6 years old, I've been, card making ever since. And I've dabbled in a million other things. I used to do costuming for a living, theater, like props and that kind of stuff, metalsmithing and pottery. I've dabbled in everything. But I always come back to card making.
It's great. Okay, just looking for. Do you have any crafty quirks? Things that you like that nobody else likes, or things that everybody else likes that you don't like?
I don't know, probably. I had to buy the glimmer because I love the way the foil looks. And I had to buy a laminator because I love the way the foil looks. But I'm lazy about pulling it all out and using it. And I see a lot of people glimmer their stuff, and I'm like, wow, that's really cool. I think I'm just going to emboss with gold powder here because it's way faster. But I did. So if you guys know Debbie J's Crafting Corner, she brought up a really good point. She said it's like kind of like her scan and cut. She only pulls it out to do a big batch. So she doesn't just pull it out to do one sentiment because that takes a long time. And I thought, wow, that's really smart. I should just batch work it,
Yeah, and then you can
and then
have
I'll
a
probably
magic
use it.
mug. You can have a magic mug like Laurel does with all your
Yeah,
foil
and put all your
sentiments that you can
that's
pull
a great
out.
idea. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I don't know if I have any other quirks. Probably.
Yeah, you seem pretty quirky. What's your best craft room organization tip?
I tend to put everything away when I'm done, just so that I can find the bottom. I like to start with a fresh space each time as much as possible. Sometimes there's, work in progress that's going to take me a long time, like I'm making kits for expos and things like that. So those are kind of in bins in process, and I can't wait for expo season to be done so that those bins can go home. Be out of my space. But starting with a clean space feels good, so I like to always do that, and I think that's one of my tips is just put it all away, and like the stuff that you really use every single time, keep that on your desk or right there. Everything else can kind of have its space near you, but having a clean area where with just your essentials handy, at least for me, I think
Yeah,
that
no, I think
just feels
we're
good.
very similar in that, because I feel pretty much the same way about all of that. And I can get very messy while I'm making something, but before I start the next thing, everything has to be put back away.
Yeah. Well, I mean, as we're working, our desks always shrink anyhow, right?
For sure.
Like my favorite Misty is the mini Misty, because my desk has shrunk so much by the time I'm working. I don't even have room to open the full size Misty, and my desk is big, but
Right.
it just
Right.
everything kind of creeps in as you're working. So if you don't find the bottom before you start,
Yeah.
wow, good luck.
Okay, here's another organization one. How do you categorize or organize or store your stamps and dies?
So I'm on a couple design teams, and have been on a few others. And so design teams, you tend to end up with a whole lot of their products, and you tend to need to pull specifically from those. So for the design teams, they each get their own. I use those, like the clear refrigerator bins like Jennifer McGuire uses for the stamps. The dies live, if it's a coordinating die set, it lives with the stamps in the pocket. And those are kind of organized by the company. If I don't do a lot of regular work and I don't have a ton of their stamps and dies, then I kind of just keep them organized by company still, because I tend to try to pull things from that one company so that I can also post on their pages and stuff like that, especially if
Right.
I'm going to use my lights or something. And if they want to repost, it's when you have a mashup of 40 different stamp companies, they don't necessarily want to repost it.
Yeah.
So I tend to work one company at a time. Not always, but I tend to. So I organize that way. And then I keep the dies. Stamps are in one cabinet, dies are in the other cabinet, because I have as many dies as stamps. And for my dies that are not like organized by the company, then I keep the nestings, like all the squares and rectangles together, the circles, the hearts, all of my jumbo words and my any words, those are all on magnetic sheets. And I'll put those together from all the different stamp companies, and then I just mark on the back of the card, who it's from in case I need to reference it later. But so those I tend to organize by like things rather than company.
All right. Cool. Okay. So what advice do you have for a beginning card maker?
Don't start this if you think it's going to be cheaper than buying them.
Yeah, we all thought that, didn't we?
It is so not true. And if you think you're going to make money selling cards, well, you would be the very first person to actually do that.
Yeah. Yeah.
um, I I think try a couple different things. You don't have to go all in. You don't have to have full sets of everything unless you know you like it. When I wanted to switch over to Copic markers, they're expensive. Those are like $8 a piece markers, but I wanted to try it. So I started with an inexpensive brand where I could get like 120, because the other thing with Copics is, like, if you get 3 markers, what are you going to color, So
Right.
you need a bunch. So I started with an off brand, and I decided that I did like them. By the time they were drying out, I did like them. They had bullet nibs, and I knew I wanted to switch over to the brush. So at that point, I knew that I was willing to invest in those. So you don't necessarily have to go with the really expensive stuff first, and you don't have to have the whole thing. If you want to get into colored pencils, start with an inexpensive set, and then if you decide that you like it, then you can get into your, $300 set pencils. but start with something inexpensive first, because also you're going to be wasting a lot of it trying to figure it out. So, and if you have a technique that you've learned that you like, grab that and see if you can build on from there. And follow Ardith, because Ardith has like 100 million great videos, and she will show you how to use like use your ink pad 700 ways. Use your stencils.
Well, as you say,
So
like, this stuff's expensive, right?
it
So the
is.
more ways we can use things, the
Right.
more value we get from them. So
Yeah. Yeah. And look up the hashtag stretch your supplies. So
yeah, that's a good one.
because you'll find way more ways to use something that you're already invested in.
Right. Okay. Well, it's pretty much time to wrap up. So Laurel's joining us.
I wanted to pop in because I was watching and I missed why you're in your car. So I just had to go. Are you tanning?
It's an ordeal. Not so bad. I got up at 4 o'clock this morning. Actually, I got up at 3:30 so I could leave by 4 a.m. so that I could be here in town, because I have a baby shower tomorrow. So I got here so that I could be checked into the hotel early, into the Wi-Fi, the whole 9 yards, and nobody's at the front desk. And I called their emergency number like 3 times, and I'm like, They gave me
Well,
the
that's
code to the door to
unusual.
get in yesterday when I was calling to confirm everything was great, you know.
Of
And
course, this
I can't
happens
get into
right
my room,
before.
so I'm in a tank top and in my
You
car.
know what? You're
Sorry.
stunning. It looks great. I missed the beginning, and I knew there was a funny story. I just didn't expect it to be that. But what time zone are you in?
I'm in California, so it's
Uh,
like 1 o'clock in the afternoon. Well,
yeah,
I got there at 12:30, and nobody's at the hotel.
those
So
people be at lunch. They luncheon, I guess, and they
yeah,
don't have a backup, uh, backup
yeah,
or whatever. But anyway, yeah. So hey, glad I came in at the end. Blue, look how pretty the sky is. I mean, hey, that's California life for you.
yeah. It's a beautiful day.
There you
So,
go. At least it could have been pouring. I guess it could have been worse.
yep.
Or you could have had no internet. I mean, it could have been a whole ton of things.
Laurel,
That was my other fear. I have my laptop and everything. I guess I'll have to
This
work
is a
through it.
much better story, I have to say.
Laurel, there's a question in the chat about how to sign up for prizes.
How to sign up for prizes is for ultimate bundle holders. That's how. For ultimate card making bundle holders only it's in the classroom down there. Some sponsors and some stores, I'm not going to spill if it's Amanda or not, have some exclusive things that are going to go out in newsletters after the summit ends. It may be her, it may not be her. You just have to say subscribe to find out. I'm so bad. It's the end of the day, people.
Okay. All right, guys, it's time to wrap up. So thank you, Amanda, for being intrepid and
Being a trooper, baby.
yeah,
Being a
no
trooper.
kidding. Appreciate
Thanks,
that.
guys. I
And
hope
I'm
everyone
glad.
enjoyed the video. And if you guys have any questions, just let me know. And I'll find that code and make sure that I put it in the description after the live ends so that you'll be able to find it.
Great.
Or actually, wait, you have to put it in the description. I'll put it in the
do.
comments. How's that?
I can put it in the description for you.
All right.
But I guess now I have to ask you straight outright. Is this for all ticket holders, even the freebies, this
Yeah,
code?
I think we put a 15% off coupon in there. If we didn't, I'll make sure we do.
For everyone? You heard it here.
Now you're
people.
committed.
You
Yep.
heard it here, people, because that's a first.
Yeah, it'll be good for a week. If it's, I think we already have it set up. If we don't have it set up, it'll be good for a week. So, you have time to shop. And
Yeah, you have time. She has to get it. I mean, she needs to check into her hotel, look all this stuff up. So when we get the information, we will put it in the YouTube description. I'll try to remember to include it in tomorrow's email, but it will be in the YouTube description. So actually, you guys have to come back and look in the YouTube description later. That's what's going to happen.
All right. Thanks so
Okie
much,
dokie.
Amanda.
thank you. Have a good one.
Bye.